actually wrote as my topic today, community engagement, which kind of ironic given you gave a wonderful display of exactly what I'm going to be talking about, which is this board's refusal to involve community engagement. And that many of these policies were very obviously put in place so that it would discourage community engagement and discourage people from talking. Obviously, since 4 minutes was too much for you guys to want to hear what someone had to say. So it's with a grim sense of deja vu that I stand before you all again, knowing that nothing I say is probably going to motivate you to work with me. This is the same board now that has asked Stephanie Brown to come give presentations twice on programs that will help the children in District 709, and actually offered her whatever support and resources she needed to make that happen. And I think that's wonderful. I genuinely am so glad you support her in these really important roles. But it is a stark contrast to the plethora of times I've offered to give presentations on programs that could also help our children and have been refused by this board at every turn. So I'm done trying with you all, at least for now. Because you've shown pretty conclusively you have no interest in what I have to offer, even though the only people that you're hurting with that decision are the children you're supposed to be advocating for. That doesn't mean that I've gone away, and it won't mean I'm still not monitoring this board and holding them accountable. It just means that instead of sitting here for 2 hours every 2 weeks just to have you completely ignore me, with the small caveat that I do appreciate Dr. Smock at least replies to my emails and does try to engage in some conversation. He is the only one to do so. So instead of sitting here for you to ignore me, I'm going to spend my time actually helping children in our district and outside of it. Because when it became clear that I would not make any headway with this board, I offered my services to District 150 instead. And not surprisingly, they're thrilled to have me on board. They've offered whatever supports I can need, and I'm already actively working on supporting in-school health access and improved mental health supports in the District 150 schools, as well as increased funding for special needs education. There is a great deal of grant funding, a great deal of it, that could have been applied to the Morton school districts, that I will now be funneling towards a different district rather than ours, because you are all too arrogant to accept my help. And when you start to see the success of those programs, when you start to see me on TV, and you will, I was just invited to be one of ICAP, the Illinois chapter of AAP's Speaker Bureau participants. And ironically, Mr. Neely, I'm meeting with state legislators, multiple of them, in 2 weeks, and in Springfield. And when they ask me, why am I trying to advocate for money for a district I don't live in, I will happily make sure they know it is because the school board has absolutely no interest in the programs that I'm trying to advocate for. So when you see that, I want you to remember that all of that funding could have been Morton's. The resources I'm offering you for months now have to go to a different district because you're too proud to take advantage of it. And I sincerely hope that voters at home hold you directly responsible for that incredibly short-sighted arrogance. Because I want to be clear, that money should be in this district. Those programs for children could have come to this district, and it is 100% your fault that they are not. Just because I've given up on this board ever prioritizing the children of our district over their own egos doesn't mean I'm done helping this community. So I'm still meeting with Morton teachers to find out how I can better support them. And I invite any teachers listening today to please reach out. And the reason they're meeting with me and not Mr. Neely in the library when he invites them to do so is because I'm actually listening. And I'm actually trying to do things that will help them. And the teachers don't trust the board and the history of inaction and self-interest. So I'm going to do everything in my power now to replace one of you next year so that you have no choice but to work with me. Until then, I would encourage you all to follow my school board campaign Facebook page, just in case at some point you do become curious about the work I'm doing to help this district and maybe decide you do want to know more, and heaven forbid, maybe even help and support me in those endeavors. And if anyone wants to be involved in actual projects aimed at supporting the mental health of District 709 students, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. And just as important, if anyone wants to be part of my campaign next year, please also reach out. Because hopefully today has shown you how desperately our children need an actual advocate on this board instead of performative mouthpieces.